Feeling lost in life. This will change how you see work forever. If you feel lost, it's not because you lack effort, it's because you're not connected to why you're working. Most people don't hate work. They hate meaningless work. They hate routine without reason. They hate energy spent chasing goals they didn't choose. But there is another path. When you see work as a path to mastery, not money, you begin to move differently. Work doesn't drain you. It awakens you. And it reveals who you really are. You're not lazy, you're unaligned. The lie most people live under is that they're lazy, that something in them is broken, that their lack of consistent output is a personal failure. They internalize their low energy as weakness, their procrastination as a character flaw, their fatigue as proof that they're just not wired for discipline. But here's the truth, most people aren't lazy. They're disconnected. They're unaligned. What looks like laziness from the outside is often the body and mind resisting a life that no longer fits. You're not unmotivated because you lack willpower, you're unmotivated because you've been running on autopilot, pouring your time into things that don't connect to your soul. And when your internal compass isn't engaged, no amount of routine, hustle, or self-judgment will pull you forward in a sustainable way. Laziness is rarely a lack of effort, it's a lack of clarity. The mind and body are built for movement, for pursuit, for creation, but not blind motion, not obligation without purpose, not effort without alignment. And the reason you've been tired, the reason you wake up and feel heavy before the day has even started, is because your system is screaming for something real. It's resisting the schedule you keep because it was never your schedule. It's resisting the path you're on because it was never your path. The work you're doing, the habits you've built, the goals you've adopted, if they were handed to you by someone else, if they don't reflect your values, your vision, your personal truth, then of course your energy is gone. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Your nervous system is doing what it's supposed to do, protecting you from spending your life climbing the wrong mountain. The issue isn't that you're unwilling, it's that you're uninspired. You've forced yourself to treat life like a list of checkboxes. Wake up, work, perform, please, repeat. And somewhere in that repetition, your internal spark dimmed. That spark is not laziness. That's your inner voice going quiet after being ignored for too long. But it's not gone. It's waiting. And it doesn't take some massive transformation to reconnect to it. It takes space, silence, honesty. It takes asking harder questions. What matters to me? What lights me up? What feels like expansion, not contraction? Where am I out of sync with myself? These questions aren't indulgent, they're necessary, because the answers are what rewire your discipline from force to fluid. The truth is, your energy returns when your alignment does. Your motivation rises when your direction is real. You don't need to trick yourself into working harder. You need to remind yourself why you're working at all. Most burnout doesn't come from doing too much, it comes from doing the wrong things for too long. From waking up each day and forcing yourself to grind through a reality that doesn't reflect who you've become. That's not progress. That's slow self-abandonment. And the body feels it. The mind resists it. That resistance is not something to push through. It's something to listen to. Alignment doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means the difficulty now feels worthwhile. The discipline you practice doesn't drain you, it strengthens you. The repetition doesn't numb you, it sharpens you. And suddenly, you're not dragging yourself through the day. You're meeting it with presence. You're creating instead of performing. You're waking up with a mission, not just a list. And yes, the structure is still there. But now it has soul. Now it has weight. Now it belongs to you. You were never meant to live like a machine, repeating without rhythm, pushing without presence. You were meant to live like a monk in motion, rooted in meaning, moving with purpose, building something that reflects the deepest truth of who you are. And when you find that truth, when you stop calling your exhaustion laziness and start listening to what your body is actually asking for, you don't need motivation, you just move. Because now your life finally fits. And from that fit, from that internal alignment, comes a type of discipline that doesn't burn you out, it builds you up. The real meaning of work is not profit, it's practice. In the modern world, we are taught that work is about output, about money, about proving something, about survival. We chase results, chase recognition, chase more. And in that chase, something sacred gets lost. We forget that work, in its original form, was never about accumulation. It was about alignment. The ancient world understood something we no longer teach, that every task, no matter how simple, no matter how ordinary, can be a doorway into presence, into mastery, into self-refinement. In the monastery, sweeping floors is not a punishment. Chopping vegetables is not beneath us. Training forms is not about showing off. It is practice. It is ritual. It is training the mind to become still, the body to become sharp, the spirit to become calm. Because work is not just about what you produce, it is about who you become while producing it. We live in a world that rushes, that glamorizes speed, multitasking, and endless productivity. But speed without depth is noise, and movement without awareness is wasted. You can spend your entire life working fast and still die dull. You can clock decades of hours, hit every deadline, impress every boss, and still remain internally chaotic. You can grow your income, scale your business, build your brand, and still feel empty. Because growth without presence is superficial, and success without self-awareness is fragile. The real transformation doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing with meaning, from moving with attention, from treating every task as an opportunity not to perform but to practice. This is why the monks never complain about chores, why the repetition doesn't bore us, because we don't view the work as something to escape. We view it as something to enter, fully, with breath, with focus, with reverence. To wash a bowl is not just to clean, it is to train the mind to stay in one place, to train the body to move with care, to train the spirit to stop fleeing into distraction. And from that repetition, something beautiful happens. The ego softens, the breath deepens, the moment sharpens, and suddenly it's not about the bowl. It's not about the floor. It's not about the food. It's about the state, the presence. And that presence begins to bleed into everything else. Your job, your business, your craft, they are not just obligations. They are your temple. They are the stage where your character is forged, your discipline is refined, your presence is tested. You want to become strong? Then train in the small things. Be exact in your movements. Be patient with your process. Be fully where your hands are. Because that's what separates the master from the amateur. Not talent, not opportunity, but attention. The one who gives attention to the ordinary builds something extraordinary over time. Not because the task changed, but because they changed through the task. If your work today feels meaningless, it's not because the task is meaningless. It's because the attention behind it is scattered. Your breath is shallow. Your thoughts are elsewhere. You're thinking about the next thing, the next goal, the next escape. But real power lives in this thing, in this breath, in this movement. When you bring clarity to what you're doing, even if it's small, you start to feel a shift. You slow down, you get sharper. You remember that the goal isn't just to finish. The goal is to be forged. Every task becomes training. Every hour becomes a form. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Work becomes holy when it is done with presence. This is not a slogan. This is a discipline. And if you learn to live this way, something deep inside you changes. You become less reactive, less desperate, less chaotic. You don't need everything to be exciting because your stillness is the reward. You don't need applause because your attention is enough. You don't chase meaning because you are making meaning with every movement. That is the art. That is the path. And when you live like this, even the smallest job becomes part of your mastery. So the question is not, what am I doing today? The question is, how am I doing it? Because profit may come and go, status may rise and fall, but who you become through your work, that is what stays. That is what sharpens. That is what will carry you through every storm. Chasing without purpose will make you feel empty. You can work harder than everyone around you and still feel completely disconnected. You can fill every hour, every minute with motion, emails, calls, plans, deadlines, and still fall asleep with a heaviness that ambition cannot lift. Because effort without vision is not fulfillment. It's fatigue in disguise. It's a performance with no center. And that performance, no matter how polished it looks on the outside, leads to one destination: spiritual exhaustion. We live in a time that glorifies the grind, that equates busyness with importance and motion with success. But motion is not the same as meaning. Just because you're running doesn't mean you're moving in the right direction. Just because you're building doesn't mean you're becoming. The truth is, most people are not chasing what they want, they're chasing what they were taught to want. They don't even realize it. Their ambition was handed to them. Their goals are inherited, their timeline is borrowed, and their entire life, without even knowing it, becomes a response to fear. The fear of being left behind, the fear of being average, the fear of disappointing family, the fear of not being enough. So they fill their calendars to avoid sitting still long enough to feel that fear. They run from the discomfort. They hide in their accomplishments. But no matter how fast they move, they can't outrun what's missing: alignment. And without alignment, no amount of progress feels like peace. You wake up every day and push harder, but something still feels off. That off isn't failure, it's disconnection. You are not meant to run endlessly. You are not built for chaos as a lifestyle. You are designed for direction, for disciplined, intentional movement. You are built to bring presence into what you do, not just performance. And if you feel like you're pushing and still feeling like it's never enough, pause. Just pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually chasing? And more importantly, why? Whose voice shaped that goal? Whose expectation is driving this urgency? Did I choose this path, or did I inherit it without reflection? These aren't small questions. They're the beginning of your real power. Because when you pause long enough to see your own patterns, you begin to reclaim the direction of your energy. You stop living from pressure and start living from principle. That doesn't mean you quit everything. You don't need to abandon your life to find purpose. You need to change how you relate to it. You need to bring more awareness to your work, not just to what you do, but how you do it. The shift isn't in leaving your job. It's in transforming your relationship to the task in front of you. That email, that meeting, that repetitive process, it's not the enemy. The disconnection is. When you bring attention to your breath, intention to your movement, and clarity to your effort, your work becomes a practice ground. A dojo, a temple, not a burden, but a mirror. Every task becomes a place where you sharpen yourself, not just as a professional, but as a person. Because real mastery isn't in the role, it's in the awareness you bring to the role. True work doesn't drain you, it renews you, not because it's always easy, but because it's yours. Because it reflects your values, your timing, your clarity. That kind of work gives you energy. It doesn't take it from you. And when your effort is aligned with your internal compass, your progress feels like peace, not pressure. You're no longer addicted to more. You're no longer performing for approval. You're no longer measuring your worth by how much you can produce. You've moved from reaction to intention, from noise to rhythm, from chasing to creating. And this is the deeper truth. The exhaustion you feel isn't coming from the hours, it's coming from the aimlessness, from doing without aligning, from moving without meaning. And the only way to shift that is to bring stillness into the chaos, not to run from the work, but to reconnect with why you're doing it. Set deeper intentions, ask sharper questions, refuse to go another day building a life that drains you just because the world told you to. You don't have to tear everything down, but you do have to go inward. You do have to recenter. Let your daily work become your dojo. Let it become the place where your mind sharpens, your habits align, and your spirit stops collapsing under the weight of invisible expectations. Let your day be a discipline, not a distraction. Let every task become a return, not to pressure, but to presence. Because that's when the shift happens, not when you slow down, not when you escape, but when you finally decide that your work will no longer just be about results. It will be about rhythm, about meaning, about becoming. Work isn't something you escape, it's something you infuse with meaning. We live in a culture that teaches people to escape their work. Find your passion, they say. Do what you love, they shout. But in that shouting, they plant a subtle and dangerous lie. That meaning is something your job should hand to you. That fulfillment is waiting for you in a different title, a better salary, a more creative role. So people chase jobs like they chase peace, thinking the right one will fix everything. But they forget that no job can save you from the way you show up to it. You were not born to escape your life. You were born to infuse it with presence, with structure, with intention. That means even the mundane, even the repetitive, even the parts of your day you don't enjoy can be forged into something meaningful when done with the right internal power. The real question isn't, do I like this task? That's shallow. That's fleeting. The real question is, who am I becoming as I meet this task with focus? Because what you do will change over time. But how you do it, that's the foundation. That's the discipline. That's the mirror. You may not be in your dream role yet, You may not feel inspired by your work today, but that doesn't mean the day is meaningless. Meaning is not handed to you. It's extracted through attention, through awareness, through the way you carry yourself in each moment of effort. You don't need your job to be perfect. You need your presence to be practiced, because when your presence is sharp, even the smallest task becomes a dojo, a training ground, a spiritual weight that builds the strength no resume ever reflects. If you want your work to evolve how you approach it. Don't wait for your environment to shift your energy first. Carry yourself like the person you're becoming. Walk differently. Breathe slower. Let silence replace the noise. Let every movement become deliberate. Let your focus become like a blade, clean, still, cutting through the distractions. Suddenly, the same work begins to yield new results, not because the task changed, but because you did. Your energy is no longer leaking into overthinking, complaining, wishing, comparing. It's now rooted, it's now disciplined, it's now aligned. And alignment transforms everything. You gain more from the same hours because you've stopped abandoning yourself in those hours. You're now present, fully, and presence when repeated becomes momentum. Work isn't a cage, it's a mirror, and that mirror is always showing you something. If you bring chaos, you will find frustration. If you bring resistance, you will feel stuck. But if you bring clarity, your work becomes your teacher. If you bring structure, your work becomes your path. If you bring awareness, your work becomes your refinement. It's not about the job. It's about your rhythm inside the job. That rhythm is what builds strength. It's what builds character. And character, real, unshakable character, is the only thing that carries you through storms without losing your footing. This isn't about romanticizing misery. This isn't about pretending every role is a dream. It's about realizing that every moment of effort is a decision to run or to train, to resist or to rise, to escape or to infuse. You don't need the world to understand. You don't need the work to be exciting. You just need to ask yourself, what energy am I bringing into this? Because whatever you bring in, you'll see it reflected right back at you. That's the mirror. That's the law. And no title, no paycheck, no recognition can replace that truth. So stop waiting for your work to make you feel right. Start showing up in a way that makes it right. With breath, with presence, with precision. And watch how the same work you once wanted to escape becomes the very place that makes you unstoppable. Mastery only comes through repetition with awareness. Mastery isn't a product of talent. It's not gifted. It's not found. And it's not given by inspiration or motivation. It is earned slowly, quietly, repetitively. While the world celebrates novelty, monks build their lives on the opposite, repetition, not for the sake of perfection, but for the sake of presence. You don't become strong because you did something once. You become strong because you did it 10,000 times, each time with full attention, each time with full breath, each time as if it was the first. And that is what separates a person who is disciplined from a person who is distracted. It's not how many things they can do, it's how deeply they can do the one thing in front of them. Most people give up too soon, not because they're weak, but because they were never taught what real repetition requires. They think repetition means boredom. They think structure means suppression. But repetition without awareness is slavery. Repetition with awareness is liberation. The action is the same. The rhythm is the same. But the energy behind it, that's what changes everything. You can sweep the floor 100 times and stay stuck. Or you can sweep it once with breath, with focus, with full presence, and feel your body sharpen, your mind settle, your spirit align. And in that moment, the ordinary becomes sacred. The simple becomes spiritual. The task becomes a temple. And you, the practitioner, begin to change. Monks are not born disciplined. No one is. Discipline is not genetic. It's not personality. It's trained. It's built. It's chosen. Every day, in the most mundane of moments. When others rush, we slow down. When others check out, we check in. When others repeat from habit, we repeat with intention. Because we understand something the modern world has forgotten. Freedom does not come from avoiding repetition. It comes from owning it. From going so deep into the process that the process begins to change you. That's the paradox. The thing you think is boring, the job, the routine, the practice, is actually your path to power, but only if you are awake inside it. Your job is not killing your passion. Your lack of presence is. your tendency to rush through tasks while thinking of the next thing, your habit of checking the clock instead of checking your breath, your constant escape from this moment in search of a better one. And it's not that the task is wrong, it's that you're only half inside it. Half focus drains the soul, but full attention, full breath, that gives life back to the moment. And when you live like that moment by moment, you stop needing constant change to feel alive. You stop chasing stimulation. You begin to experience something deeper, stillness in motion, power in silence, joy in the ordinary. This is how monks train. We don't seek variety. We seek depth, the same movement, the same walk, the same silence, not because we're avoiding growth, but because this is where growth lives. Inside the repetition, inside the rhythm, inside the moment that most people overlook because they're moving too fast to feel it. But when you slow down, truly slow down, and give yourself fully to the practice, your entire system begins to shift. Your breath deepens, your awareness sharpens, and the thing that used to feel like a cage, it becomes your dojo. The very thing you thought was confining you starts to reveal your strength, not because it changed, but because you did. You want freedom, then earn it through mastery. You want mastery, then earn it through repetition. You want repetition to work for you, then bring awareness into it. Let every movement become intentional. Let every breath become sacred. Let every step become a choice. This is not about being robotic. It's about being fully alive in the repetition that the undisciplined mind would label as dull. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to evolve. And evolution requires stillness in structure, depth in discipline, awareness in action. So take whatever you do today, your work, your practice, your routine, and slow it down. Feel the weight of the task. Feel the resistance rise. Then breathe through it. Stay in it. Let the boredom surface. Let the emotions swirl. And keep going, not mindlessly, but mindfully. That's when everything shifts. That's when practice becomes transformation. That's when the task becomes the teacher. And you begin to rise not because you finished something new, but because you finally became someone different inside something old. Freedom through discipline is not a contradiction. It is the highest form of happiness. And it only lives on the other side of repetition with awareness. You don't need to escape work. You need to transform how you see it. The real purpose of work is not survival. It is awakening. And that shift, when it happens, changes everything. You no longer wake up heavy. You no longer feel lost, because your energy is now aligned with growth. You train your body not because you have to, but because you want to carry yourself with strength. You build your business not just to earn, but to express your mission. You go to work not because it's Monday, but because every moment becomes a practice ground for presence, resilience, and awareness. This is the path. You stop escaping and you start evolving.